My name is Rachel Monroe, and I had just turned 42 when everything in my life flipped upside down. I was married to a kind-hearted man named Daniel, a contractor who had 2 children from his previous marriage. One of them was his 22-year-old son, Logan, who had recently moved back in with us after finishing college. Logan was respectful, charming, and always helpful around the house. In many ways, he filled the emotional gap my own teenage daughter had left when she moved in with her father across the state. As much as I tried not to notice, Logan's maturity and presence began to affect me in ways I didn't anticipate. One Friday night, Daniel was away for a business trip, and I invited a few co-workers over for a small get-together. Logan helped me set everything up. Music, drinks, snacks. He was polite and made everyone laugh. By midnight, everyone had gone home except Logan and me. I remember pouring one last glass of wine in the kitchen while Logan sat on the couch scrolling through his phone. Our conversation turned personal. He asked me how I truly felt being a stepmother, and whether I ever missed being with someone closer to my age. His question lingered in the air like a heavy perfume. "I'm fine," I lied, laughing it off. But Logan didn't laugh. He just looked at me. The next few moments blurred. It wasn't anything I was proud of, just confusion, loneliness, and wine. What happened that night wasn't meant to happen, but it did. The next morning I was horrified. Logan had already left early, leaving only a note on the counter that read, "We need to talk. I'm sorry." I spent the rest of the week in a haze. I couldn't face him. I couldn't even look at myself. And just as I was beginning to convince myself it was all a terrible mistake that could be buried, I missed my period. Thought it was stress. I told myself I was overreacting. But then the second month passed. I took the test. Positive. I stared at the result for hours. How could I possibly tell Daniel? How could I face Logan? And worst of all, what if this child really wasn't my husband's? I made an appointment at a private clinic and quietly had the blood work done. A week later, the results came in confirming the timeline I feared. It wasn't Daniel's child. I was devastated. Torn between shame and guilt, I contemplated leaving everything behind. But before I could even pack a suitcase, Daniel came home early from a job site in tears. "I need to tell you something," he said, collapsing onto the couch. He confessed to me that he had been keeping a secret, one that explained Logan's sudden return home and his strange emotional shifts over the last year. "Logan isn't just my son," Daniel said. "He's actually not biologically mine. My ex-wife had an affair and kept it hidden for years. I found out recently after I took a private paternity test because things weren't adding up. I didn't want to tell Logan until I knew more. But I found out who his real father is." He sat stunned. It felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. He continued, "It's someone we both know. Someone from my past. My former best friend, Jeremy." I hadn't heard that name in years. Jeremy was once part of our lives, until a fallout drove them apart. I suddenly felt dizzy. If Logan wasn't Daniel's biological son, then what did that make what happened? Logan came home later that evening. We finally sat down and had the conversation we had both been dreading. He told me he regretted everything, that he had acted out of confusion and resentment after discovering the truth about his real father. He said he never wanted to hurt anyone, but he had always looked up to me and, at his weakest moment, he confused admiration with something else. It didn't change what had happened, but it shifted something deep inside me. I couldn't run anymore. I had to face the truth and live with it. I told Daniel everything. The night. Baby. The blood results. He stared at me for a long time. The silence was unbearable. But then he did something I didn't expect. He stood up and hugged me. "I've made mistakes too," he said quietly. "We can't undo what happened, but we can decide what happens next." That night we talked until sunrise. We cried. We yelled. We forgave. In the months that followed, the house went quiet. Logan moved out to live with his biological father, who, after learning the truth, wanted to be part of his life. Daniel and I decided to raise the child together, not because of obligation, but because we chose forgiveness over destruction.